and welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show today. Well, it is a happy Thursday. Not that I really have anything that I'm going to talk about being happy, but it is because it's Thursday and tomorrow's Friday and this week is almost over. Yay! So I was thinking about doing a series about the makeup of the mind. You know, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the battle for the soul. And this is kind of tied to it, but a little preemptive material. And so when we talk about the mind, there are three parts. There's the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the superconscious mind. Now, we're all familiar with conscious mind because that is the part that hopefully you're conscious right now, listening to me talk and processing the information that is going on. And we often think that we interact with the world on conscious levels, that we are in control of our destiny. And we do that because we are fundamentally aware of what's going on and we're making conscious decisions to do something or not do something, as the case may be. However, that's really not what is going on and not how that works for the bulk of people. I'm not saying everyone, but for the bulk of people. Most things that we do actually happen on subconscious levels, and this is what's going on behind the scenes. Um, the subconscious level sits below the conscious level, and to simplify it, how it works, it acts like a giant computer. And it takes in information, it takes in our experiences, it takes in our ideas, it takes in our impressions, it takes in our perceptions of the world, our memories and our opinions, and it stores this in, again, this giant kind of computer of our mind. And then when things happen to us, it looks for similarities between what's happened to us in the past and what is going on with us in the present. And based on those similarities, we will make a judgment one day, one way or the other, and then act on those judgments or act on those responses, which we'll talk about that in another episode. You know, the biggest point that I want to talk about today is how this whole thing gets set up. Because when we're born, we are really an empty slate for the most part. And as time goes on, there is this level of programming that happens to us. And it develops over time and through repetition. And this programming can come from our family, it can come from school, it can come from our friends, it can come from society. And these things fashion who we are and what we're doing. And so if we're having some kind of an issue, if we trigger easily, if we're emotionally reactive, if we have a very strong inner critic, which we'll talk about that again in another time, it is because these programs, hang on one second, these programs have identified what's going on and how we're going to react to something that might have happened to us 30 years before, 20 years before. You know, not anything that might be going on in the here and now at all. So, as an example, if you're a child and as you're growing up, you end up feeling worthless, if you end up feeling invisible, if you feel broken for whatever reason, we look for we look for validation of these concepts in our experience. And the subconscious mind will filter out our perceptions and give us a whole different story to tell. You know, so, and just to put this out now, you know, so I talk about this whole concept in my book, Dang, It Was Me All Along. And this is one of the stories that I share in the book. So my dad was a chronic complainer, and I don't know, he kvetched, which is Yiddish for complain. And And so he had gone to this wedding of his best friend from childhood. His son was getting married. And he goes to the wedding, and this is how he reported it. And I just remember this vividly. They had a four-piece quintet or quartet playing music while people were eating, and they ate lobster thermidor for their meal. And then they had a live band that played music for people to dance to. And his big takeaway from this whole thing was the food was cold. And and there was a part of him that couldn't imagine how these people could spend $40,000 on a wedding. Um, but his viewpoint and how he saw this whole event was really filtered through and colored by him, his life experiences, who he had grown to be without really being able to take in this big picture that they really put on this fancy shindig to get married in. And so, so those are some of the negative experiences that might cause us to be one way or the other. Um, and I give this example, for people that tend to have narcissistic tendencies, and this isn't for all of them, but this is a good part of them. And this is the entitlement part of their personality. Imagine that there's a little kid, and you actually, I'm going to share a personal story. So, my stepson, when I first started dating their dad, and I was trying to get to know them, and I said, hey, come with me to Walmart. And so we went to Walmart, and he wanted me to buy him a toy, but I was broke. I mean, I was paying for this expensive apartment. I had this really crappy job, and I was broke. And I said, if you can find something for $5, I'll get you that. And so he finds this toy, and we go up to the register, and they scan it, and it was like 25 bucks. And I'm like, sorry, dude, can't do it. Can't buy you the toy. And he literally sat on the floor and started to cry. And I was, I really wasn't having anything with having to do with that. And I was really kind of surprised. But when you talk about people that have narcissistic traits, many times they're the child that is sitting on the floor crying, having a temper tantrum, and they do it and do it and do it until the parents give in and buy them the toy or buy them the candy bar or give into whatever the child wants. And through time and repetition, they learn that having a hissy fit is going to get me what I want. And so as an adult in their relationships, they already know that if there's something I want, all I have to do is have a temper tantrum, get angry, be persistent, start to cry, whatever it is, whatever their manipulation tool is, they will employ that because they were programmed that if I do this, I will get that. But it's not always negative programming. You do good in the spelling bee and you get the accolades of being really smart. And down the road, you still might feel smart. Or if you're good at sports, it's like you will continue to strive in sports or try to be good in sports because the programming says, I'm good in sports. This is what I think about me. This is my experience, and this is my belief about who I am. And so when things come around, you look to that, because that's who you believe you are. So if you believe you're invisible, you're going to act invisible. If you believe that, you're courageous and big and proud, you're going to believe that and act that way. So you can think of the soldier going to battle, and there are going to be those with their swords waving, climbing to the top of the mountain, seeking victory. And then there will be the other ones that curl up and take a step back because they're afraid. So what makes one person consciously go up the hill to fight while the other one cowers. And it's all based on that programming. Usually, as this programming occurs, there's some kind of significant emotion tied to it that holds it in place. So something happens and it locks it into us so that, either we're going to try it again or maybe we're not going to try it at all. But with all of this, that programming, that occurs in the collectiveness of the subconscious mind leaves us feeling a certain way. It leaves us thinking a certain way. It leaves us acting a certain way because the programming we receive causes it. It can be uplifting and empowering and it's inspiring, or it could be a bunch of shit. I'll just say shit. But we're going to dig into this a little bit deeper. And again, this information, if you want to learn more about it, comes from my book, Dang, It Was Me All Along. But before I go, what I would like to leave you with, and it's not what you need to do right now because you need to stay in your conscious mind so we can do our little session work, but maybe take a moment and become mindful of perhaps some of the programming you've received and how that might be affecting your life. Okay? So before I say hi to everybody, I just want to remind you that if there's things going on in your life and you would like to schedule a private consultation with me, please go to my webpage, soulhealer.com, and reach out to me. This show is also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. And if you go to that website, you can get my free Jumpstart Your Intuition Guide, which has information about becoming a medical intuitive counselor, and certified energy medicine practitioner. But there's also a bunch of exercises in there that start you on the road of tapping into your own intuition. Okay. As always, if you're listening to the show in a repeat format and you want to join the fun, please go to my YouTube channel. That's Just Energy Radio on YouTube. Just Energy Radio on YouTube, 7 p.m. Central Time every Thursday night, and hang out with us and get a free on-air psychic reading. And before I go, I would love it if you guys would go and follow me on my different social media platforms. And these are some of them: Just Energy Radio on YouTube, Dr. Rita Louise -Live on Facebook, Psychic Doc on Rumble, Dr. Rita Louise on BitChute, Dr. Rita Louise on Twitter, and my new one is Dr. Rita Louise on Substack, where I've been posting a lot. I've really been enjoying Substack. Okay, so let me kind of switch gears, say hi to people, but I already noticed, you guys, you get here early and start asking for readings. Kind of weird. Okay, so Karen was first in the hopper. Hi, Dr. Rita, may I please have a reading number 3? Thank you. You sure can, Karen. I need to adjust here. Okay, better. All right. And that's your card for today. Okay, Karen, so I am feeling like you have some concern about money. I don't know if there's something that you need to purchase and it's really expensive, or if things have just been really tight, or you see kind of the craziness that's going on in the world today and it's making you be uncomfortable or uncertain about your financial situation. I don't really have an answer for you as to how to fix that, but I do want to share that you're kind of caught in a little bit of a fear response right now. and you are not in the present moment. And so, doing things like breathing or tapping or any of the mindfulness tools that I've shared on the show will help bring you back and take that worry and anxiety out of your space. Go to the gym, go have fun, drink a glass of wine. It's all good. It's all good. All right. All right, ERRT Radio. Hello, Dr. Rita. Not first tonight, but can I get a reading number 3? Thank you. You sure can, ERRT Radio. All right, and that's your card for today. Sorry, Lozinger time. Okay, so ERRT Radio, I just get the impression that, and the best way I can describe it is that you're like holding your breath, that you're waiting for something to happen, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, you're waiting to get some kind of information, and I've said waiting 3 times, but I feel like there's this anticipation um, with this attachment of something negative to it, that's making it so that you're not, I'm going to say not breathing, that your energy is a bit shut down. I mean, obviously, with this whole thing, there's a fear piece too. God, I hope we're not having like a fear theme thing tonight. Um, and if that's the case, you might all sit there and go, okay, so what programming um, is being activated? Because fear is anxiety and worry is the activation of some kind of program inside of you, even though there's what might be going on right now in the present moment, but the anxiety and worry is a reflection of an old program that is being activated. It's kind of like you have a little computer script, like you want to print a document. And so you hit the little script that says print. And that's what's going on. And so it might be good to use that as an opportunity to kind of take a deeper look into what that's all about. Hey, Don. So he says, hey, Dr. Rita, Worry Wart here. I hope you're good and well. May I have a reading number 1, please? Hey, Don, I'm good, and you sure can. Okay. I'm just reading this note that hasn't ever been on my screen before. Okay, Don, that's your card for today. Okay, Don. Well, this is good. So, I know that the last couple of weeks, my commentary to you has been, your energy has just seemed a little bit down. But I feel like you're coming back, you're moving back into the present moment. I feel a certain level of certainty and confidence around you. I feel like you have been, and I'm going to say it this way, and I hope it makes sense, that you've been asking your higher self, that you've been asking God, that you've been asking Spirit for what you should be doing and for some guidance. And I feel like you have been getting that guidance and have actually been paying attention to it. Um, and I feel like it's working. So I don't know if you're aware of that, but that would be actually really good for you to start to notice how, if I ask for information, how that information is coming to me. Because a lot of people have this image that when they communicate with spirit, when they communicate with God, that it's going to be this booming voice saying, "Hey, Don, you should be doing this or you should be doing that." And it's not, it's these little subtle commentaries or images. But I feel like you are getting back on track and your energy is moving back into that kind of high vibration that we had talked about, I don't know, a couple few weeks ago. So good job. Whatever you're doing, it's working. Okay. Hi, Yvonne. How are you today? All right. And you would like a number 2. Okay. All right. And that's your card for today. Well, okay. We're kind of on a theme here today. So Yvonne, I'm also feeling like you're kind of in a little bit of a worry place right now. What I'm feeling around you is just some confusion. Um, Not as much worry, but more confusion. But the not knowing, not having that direction laid out and clear creates a certain amount of anxiety for you. And I like to say that spirit sometimes like throws out tests and they shut things off just because, when the test is, can I navigate the world with the tools that I have? And I feel like you're kind of being tested right now. And what I'm feeling, and I've kind of mentioned this just a second ago, um, except in a different way, is ask for the small steps. What do I need to be doing now? What do I need to be doing next? And stop, let go of the long game for right now, because the information on the long game is not coming through. It's just shut down, and they do that, but again, it's a test. And sometimes when you recognize that the universe is testing you, it makes it easier to pass the test, because it's like, oh, okay, ha 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 ha. Yes, for you too, universe. So there you go. And as always, if what I'm saying resonates with you and makes sense, I would love to get some feedback down below. You can always leave a little something, something in the tip jar by going to soulhealer.com/live. That's soulhealer.com/live. There's a link where you can go to PayPal, or you can use one of the shopping carts on there, and show your appreciation, because I'd appreciate you. Okay, one more shuffle to clear the cards, and then we're back. I'm back. All right. Okay, so Amy says, happy Thursday, Dr. Rita. Karen says hi. Okay, a little bit of commentary here. Christine says, hello, may I have a reading number 2, please? Yes, you can. Okay, Christine, and that's your card for today. Okay, so Christine, I want to validate the place that you're in right now. I get the impression, and this is my interpretation of what I'm seeing, but I just get the impression that there's like all this kind of weird negativity around you, but it's not your negativity. And I feel like, one, you recognize that they're kind of being negative and they're kind of being funky. and you decided that I don't really want to participate in that vibration. And so you've made some separation from that, and you are allowing them to be funky and to have like bad energy, but not allowing yourself to resonate. No, resonate, not allowing yourself to resonate and go down to that energy. So you're doing a great job in holding your space for yourself. So cool. Very cool. All right. All right. Master Player says evening. A number one, please. Thank you. You sure can. All right. And that's your card for today. Okay, so I'm not quite sure how to describe this. So the first word that came to me was stark. Um, okay, and I'm just going to describe what I'm being shown because I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to be talking about or what the interpretation. Because I get information, I get pictures, and then I have to interpret it to communicate that information to you. So the word that I got was stark. The image that you're showing me is that you turned a light on and now everything is just really bright, almost over illuminated, so that you kind of can't see on that end, but you can see where um, it was a lot more shadowed and a lot more challenging to be able to see through the din. Um, I feel like this is a place that you wanted to be, even though to me it's a little bit too much. But I also feel like if you're able to hold this place, that it's just a matter of time where the brightness will kind of level itself out and not be so overwhelming. I hope that makes sense. So, Master Player, I really want to hear from you because if that resonates with you and maybe a little backstory, because I don't know. I got no clue. Okay. Amy says, can I get a reading number 2, please? You sure can, Miss Amy. Okay, and that's your card for today. Amy, I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of you. I feel like the buzzword that you seem to be telling yourself right now is listen. Listen. And I feel like even though you have things moving forward, I feel like there's another part of you that has like really been working on like resting in your body and taking things in their own time as opposed to trying to make things happen, um, and then just listening. And I feel like there's been kind of this conscious effort about it. um, I would like to suggest one little modification so that when you're saying to yourself, listen, or whatever the word is that you're using for yourself, like pay attention or whatever, that in those moments you close your eyes and take a nice deep breath because there's still a little bit of anxiety tied to that. And that will help you seat down in your body just that much better. Take a breath, take a couple of breaths, but give yourself, that moment to realign and readjust. But good job. Good job. Hey, Bradley, nice to see you tonight. Okay, so Dawn says, love your hair tonight. Thank you, Dawn. You know, I never know what it's going to do. Ever, ever, ever. Veronica says, howdy. Hey, Veronica. Hi, Nina. How are you? ERRT Radio says, need more likes. Yeah, go to go to my social media and like me more. Be my be my friend. Don't you want to be my friend? Anyway, Vesta, hey girl. So we like a number 2. I can do that. Uh-oh, we have Raylan and the cat, Coop, running around, which means there might be some barking. Just a heads up. Okay, so Vesta, that's your card for today. So Vesta, this is really interesting. I feel like you've kind of like regrouped your energy for yourself. I feel like you've kind of moved other people out of it. I feel like you are in a self nurturing, I need to take care of me place. I mean, not that you like totally blow everybody else off, but I feel like you are feeling like your space is really being invaded and you are having a hard time navigating the energy and dynamics that were going on inside. And I feel like you've just kind of put up a layer of protection around you and it feels good. I feel like you feel safe. I feel like you're not being swept around in the wind, which is kind of where you were the other day. Um, and that you're taking care of yourself. You're doing some self-love. So that's great. All right. So Jessica, hey Jessica, long time no see. And she says, hey Dr. Louise or Rita Louise, it's been a while. I hope all is going well for you, sweet friend. It is going great, Jessica, and it's so nice to see you here tonight. Okay, so Don says, I often wonder if I hadn't been into my family aviation, just what I would have been or thought in life. Like my older sister Laura Lee was a brunette, all of wives were brunettes. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I think, some of us have certain preferences one way or the other when we're talking about relationships. Um, I mean, me, I married 2 Aquariuses and 2 Geminis. What's with that? I don't know. All right, so Jessica says, as a teacher, please do not teach your children to do this. It makes our job insanely harder. No kidding. Oh, hurrah. Hey, girl. Hoo-hoo. You look fantastic. Blessings, Dr. Rita. Thank you. ERRT Radio says, can we be released from any contract that was made in the past? I mean, I don't know that I would call it a contract. It is something that it's a belief, it's a core belief. And we're going to be talking about core beliefs because those are what keeps everything in line. Now, if we're talking about like a past life thing, and I'm going to put a caveat on there, there was a time that everything on the planet was attributed to some past life issue, which my response to that is, but usually we have enough to work on in this lifetime that we don't need to bring past lives in. But every so often it is a past life issue. Pretty rare in my book, but it's a thing. Usually it is about becoming, we talk about this all the time, becoming aware of what the programs are and separating out, okay, I am having this reaction. Is it an appropriate response? And that's the biggest thing. Is it an appropriate response, or is it because I have something really old that's being activated? And that can be a little challenging to kind of separate them out. But once you sit there and figure out, like, if I'm feeling this way and it's based on a past reaction, then, it gives you something that you can do some clearing on or some journaling on and bring into present time so it no longer becomes an issue for you anymore. Oh, Horace says, thank you for the words of wisdom. May I have a reading, please? Number 3. Thank you. Cheers to you too, Ohora. Okay, and that's your card for today. So, Ahura, you have this very interesting dynamic going on inside of you right now. I feel like you want to nurture yourself and take care of yourself and self love yourself. Um, but in the same breath, I feel like your inner critic and that complainer inside of you is kind of duking it out with you. Um, and it's making it so that you can't relax and you can't relax. And so my comment to you is, what is that voice saying? What is the recording? What is that tape? Because remember, our subconscious mind is like a giant computer. And so once you can sit there and figure out what the program is, it makes it so you break up the game and you can move on from it. And so what is it telling you? Because I get the impression that it tells you the same things over and over again. And that's the lie. It's a lie. It has nothing to do based on reality. It all has to do with what you were told when you were young and your perceptions ever since that point in time. So break up the lie. Break up the lie. Okay, and ERRT radio says, yes, spot on again, but a medical procedure and serious stuff. Well, ERRT radio, then you should go to soulhealer.com and schedule a private consultation with me, and we can sit there and talk about it and kind of dig into what's going on and hopefully give you some insights. Okay, and I lost my spot. Okay, there we go. All right, Don says, thank you again. And yes, it seems like I'm back on what I need to be doing little by little. And Don, that's okay. We all have moments. And what you will find if you keep on this path that you're on is that those moments, and I'm going to say a backsliding of being triggered, will become shorter and shorter. And I just like make mental notes. I mean, I think this last one lasted for a couple of weeks. I mean, I'm going to say a couple of weeks, and maybe the next time that happens and you get triggered, maybe it'll only last a week, and that's how you can tell the improvement is that the amount of time and the amount of energy that you need to recover becomes way less. Okay. Yvonne said, great advice. Small steps, perfect. That's all I want to do. Yeehaw. All right. Unar is here, says, oh, I'm late. Good evening. May I have a number 1? You sure can, Unar. But see, you're not too late because you made it in on time for me to give you a reading. Uh-oh. So if you're new to the show, when these cards come up, they're called mask cards, and they usually show where an energy is blocked, that there's some denial about what's going on, that you don't want to look at it. and I will pull cards until I feel it's cleared. And Unar, I this is the next card up, and I'm liking this card for you, even though it's not necessarily the energy of being cleared, but I feel like it's your next step. So that's the I'm liking that one for you. So let's just see what it has to say. So, Unar, I feel like there's stuff going on that you're feeling a little bit lost about. What I would like to suggest as advice, instead of relying on other people to provide you with information, that you go and do your own research and become more proactive about what's going on. And I hate to say this, but people kind of suck, and you have this expectation that they're looking out for your best interest, or they'll return your phone calls or whatever. And I don't know, it's really endemic these days, that that's not happening. And so I feel like for you, that's kind of where that stuckness is happening, is that you kind of have this expectation that people are going to do what they say. And that hasn't really been my experience lately, not for a while. So take the ball in your own hands and move forward. Okay. Hope that makes sense. As always, with all of you, if the session that I do for you is resonating, please let me know. Christine says, thank you, on point as always. Yay. Hi, Monif. I'm going to call you Monif because I don't know what that is. And I don't know if you're a new person, but if you're a new person, welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm Dr. Rita Louise, and I am going to give you a number 3. If the cards don't all fall on the floor, that is. Okay. And that is your card for today. So, Monique, what I'm feeling for you is that you need to slow down. I feel like everything is going so fast, and it's kind of exhausting you. Um, and I don't feel like, what you're doing or where you're going is in the wrong direction, but I'm feeling like you're not giving yourself time. And it does concern me that if you don't take those little breaks periodically, that you'll end up with like adrenal fatigue or something to that effect, which, why go there if you don't need to? So again, like nurturing yourself, taking a break, getting in some relaxation would be just really good for you. Okay. And then Master Player says, an interesting read with so many paths to choose from. Thank you, Rita. You are so welcome. Amy says, absolutely. Consciously listening for incoming messages. Definitely a carryover from last week's reading. Hope the universe keeps talking. Heading to the tip jar. Thank you so much, Amy. And I just really appreciate you. Every week you leave me a little, wait, hang on a second. I'm going to go back to this slide. You leave me a little something in that tip jar. And I just really appreciate you and your support of me and support of this show. I really do. All right. All right. Remove. All right. O'Horse says, thank you. Your reading was right to the point. I doubt about myself a lot. I'm afraid of making a mistake. Blessings to you. Cheers. You are so welcome, O'Hora. And then Don says, I love your show and I really feel bad when I miss it. You are great. Thank you again. Well, we miss you too, Don, when you're not here. Unar says, Oh, I'm at the bottom. Yep, I've been frustrated with people lately. Great advice. Thank you, you dear. You are so much fun, and yep, you look pretty. People suck. Um, all right, so I'll share a little personal thing because we got some time. So, as many of you know, I bought a project house and I'm getting very close to being done. I'm hanging closet doors and I'm like buying granite for the kitchen. And one of the things I have to do is I have to put a mailbox out on the street. And I didn't think about this when I bought the house, but there's a lot of crap in front of my house. There's a power pole, there's a fire hydrant, and so it doesn't leave a whole lot of room to park. And I have to put a mailbox out there. But if your car's in the way of the mailbox, they won't deliver your mail. If your car's in the way of the garbage can, they won't pick up your garbage. If you block the fire hydrant, they can give you a ticket. And I'm like, well, where the hell am I going to put and I don't know if there's any zoning stuff tied to that. And so I called the city and she was going to check regarding the water and fire hydrant, and they didn't know of any stuff. But she said I needed to call the electric company regarding the power pole, and I needed to contact somebody else. Oh, the post office, if they had any requirement with it. And the electric company never called me back. The post office says, I will drive by and I will put a pink flag where I think would be the best spot for your mailbox. So you know what? I'm putting my mailbox where the hell I want, because if they can't respect me enough, then it'll already be in concrete by the time they have something to say. They can move it themselves. Anyway, with a smile on my face. Okay. And the Master Player says, another great show. Once again, Rita, you are so welcome, Master Player. And maybe say about the topic tonight, does the programming get stuck in our emotional body and keeps tracing back to our mental body? Great question, Amy. So the reality is, there is some that we hold on to on a physical level. It's a somatic response, it's a physical response, but the programming is usually in our mental body. Because this is what we think. In order to have an emotional response, there's a thought, and the thought triggers an emotional response, and that emotional response can produce an action, and it always happens in that order. And so even if you're having an emotional reaction, you're having an emotional reaction to something that's sitting in your subconscious mind that's being activated. So it's not the emotion that is the first thing there's the event, but it takes microseconds for that communication to happen. And so you might think it's an emotional thing, but really it's the mental thing activating it all in the first place. Great question, Amy. Ahura says, congratulations on your house project. So when I get it all done, I'm going to sit down and make a video and share it with you, and that'll be our opening. Won't that be fun? Okay. ERRT Radio. Thank you for another great show. You are so welcome, ERRT Radio. Well, with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for the evening. So again, if you'd like to schedule a private consultation, please go to my website, soulhealer.com, and reach out to me and set up a time for a private consultation. You can support the show by going to, or if you're interested in becoming a medical intuitive counselor, or certified energy medicine practitioner for the comfort of your own home, go to my website, appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. While you're there, download my free Jumpstart Your Intuition Guide. It's free. And you know what? I always say free is free. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go. So till next week, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Thursday Night Live. Be blessed.